Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to Dear Listeners, your soft corner for honest thoughts and gentle growth. This is your host, Sunita Rawat, and today's episode is specially for the people who whisper when they speak English or hesitate mid sentence or say, Sorry, my English is not good, before even trying. Today, we are going to talk about a confusion that lives in the minds of millions of learners. Fluency or accuracy? What matters more? Because every time someone tries to speak in English, this tiny voice inside their head says, Don't speak unless it's perfect. Don't make a mistake, people will laugh. Don't say anything unless your grammar is correct. And so we go quiet. We understand English, we want to speak, but we don't. Why? Because we think I'm not accurate enough, so I'm not allowed to be fluent. But that's not how language works. That's not how confidence works. Let me tell you a small story. There is a woman, let's call her Meena. She's smart. She understands English movies, she listens to English podcasts, but she never speaks in English. Why? Because when she was younger, she tried once. She said something like, he go to the market. And someone corrected her immediately. It's he goes, not he goes. She smiled politely, but inside something broke. That one moment made her believe that she wasn't allowed to speak unless she got everything right. And so she stayed silent. Now let me ask you, dear listener, have you ever been Meena? Have you ever paused in the middle of a sentence because you were not sure if it's has or have? Have you ever wanted to express yourself but chose silence because you didn't want to sound wrong? If yes, you're not alone. We have all been there. But here is the truth. And I say this with full heart. Fluency is not about perfection, it's about permission. Giving yourself permission to try, to be messy, to make mistakes. Fluency comes from flowing, accuracy comes from polishing. But how will you polish something if you are not even allowed to create it first? When babies learn to speak, they say mama and papa before they even know sentence structures. When we learned Hindi, we spoke before we knew grammar. Why is it only with English that we wait for perfection? Because we are afraid. Afraid of being judged, afraid of being laughed at, afraid of our own voice. But tell me this, isn't it better to say something imperfectly than to say nothing at all? Now let's take that fear and gently replace it with a little bit of truth. So, here is the $1,000,000 question. What is fluency? Let me tell you what fluency is not. Fluency is not using fancy vocabulary. It is not speaking fast like a news anchor, and it is definitely not about sounding like a British or American person. Fluency simply means being able to express your thoughts clearly, smoothly, and confidently, even if it's not 100% perfect. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine two people. Person A knows all the grammar rules, uses correct tenses, never makes a mistake. But she pauses too much. She hesitates. She keeps thinking, is this sentence correct? So her speech feels robotic, nervous, and disconnected. Person B makes small grammar mistakes, says he go instead of he goes sometimes, but she speaks with confidence. She uses her hands, her face is expressive, she connects with people, she tells stories, she listens. Now tell me, who would you enjoy talking to? Be honest. Yes, person B. Because real communication is not about technical perfection, it's about connection, emotion, energy, message. And here is another truth. People don't remember your grammar, they remember your energy. They remember how you made them feel. So, why are we so obsessed with accuracy? Because our school system made us afraid of red marks. Because we grew up thinking English is a test, not a tool. But English is not an exam anymore. It's a bridge, a way to connect with the world, a way to grow, learn, express, inspire. And you can't build a bridge by standing still. You have to move. Even if the steps are shaky, even if you fall once or twice. Let me give you another example. When I started recording my first videos in English, I used to overthink everything. Did I say that correctly? Should I have used past perfect here? Was that plural or singular? And then I listened back and realized something. Most people didn't even notice those things. They were focused on the feeling of the episode, the message, the honesty, the story. And that's when it hit me. Nobody cares about your mistakes if you care enough to speak from the heart. So, dear listener, if you have been waiting to become perfect before speaking English, please stop waiting. Because fluency is not the prize you get after perfection. Fluency is the path you walk with all your imperfections. It's not a race, it's not a competition, it's a relationship. And just like every relationship, it takes time, effort, patience, and love. Now let's talk about accuracy. That second cousin who always shows up at the wrong time. Let's be honest, accuracy is important. It helps us speak clearly. It makes our meaning sharper. It's the polish on our language. But here is the truth. If you focus too much on accuracy while speaking, you'll never speak. You'll pause too much, you'll lose your confidence. You'll sound like a Google Translate having an anxiety attack. And more importantly, you'll feel like a failure for just trying. Let me share a little story. There was a boy named Ravi. He was learning English, watched videos, took notes, understood grammar really well, but every time he tried to speak, he would freeze. Why? Because in his mind, he was constantly editing. Is this the right tense? Should I use has been or have been? Do I say I did went or I went? I'll just stay quiet. And what happened? He said nothing. He kept postponing his progress, all in the name of accuracy. Now listen carefully. You don't become fluent by thinking. You become fluent by speaking out loud, messily, repeatedly, even with wrong grammar, even with pauses, even with basic words. Because every sentence you speak, even if it's full of small errors, takes you one step closer to real fluency. And let me tell you something funny. Even native speakers make mistakes. Yes, they say things like, I ain't got no idea. He don't care. Me and my friend was just chilling. Are they accurate? Not always. But are they fluent? Absolutely. Because they are not afraid of being imperfect. They just speak. And that's what I want for you. Now let's look at what happens when you reverse this fear. Let's say you start speaking, even with small mistakes. You might say, she go to school every day. I didn't knew that. Yesterday I eated dosa. Sounds wrong. Yes. Will someone correct you? Maybe. But what's more important is you spoke. You communicated. You practiced. You built a tiny bit of confidence. And tomorrow you'll say, she goes to school every day. I didn't know that. I ate dosa. Mistakes are not failures. They are data. They are proof that you are learning. So, dear listener, don't be the student who knows the rules but never speaks, but be the speaker who makes mistakes but keeps going. Because the truth is, accuracy is a journey, fluency is a habit. And the more you speak, the more accurate you'll naturally become. Now, I want to speak directly to your voice. Yes, your voice. The one that's been waiting quietly inside you. The one that watches English videos, listens to podcasts, takes notes, but doesn't speak. The one that gets nervous when someone says, tell me something about yourself. The one that wants to say so much but often says nothing. Let me say this to that voice with love. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You don't have to sound like a textbook. You just have to sound like yourself. Because your stories, your thoughts, your feelings, they matter. Even if your sentence has the wrong tense, even if your grammar isn't polished, even if your accent is strong, you deserve to be heard. Not after you become fluent, not after you pass an exam, but now, today, just as you are. I want you to remember something. Fluency is not about speaking without mistakes. Fluency is about speaking without fear. Fear of judgment, fear of being wrong, fear of embarrassment. And here's the good news: every time you speak, even one sentence, that fear gets a little smaller. I want you to take this 5-minute speaking challenge. This week, I want you to do something brave. It will take just 5 minutes a day. You don't need a teacher, you don't need a stage, you don't even need an audience. All you need is your voice. Here is how. Pick a topic, any topic: food, childhood, your dream, your day. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Start speaking out loud. Don't stop to correct yourself. Don't worry about grammar. Just speak. Even if it's broken, even if you repeat, even if it's weird, just speak. That's it. No pressure, no perfection, just practice. Because fluency doesn't live in your brain, it lives in your mouth. And if you use it every day, gently, lovingly, bravely, that mouth will become magic. So, dear listener, don't wait to become accurate before you speak. Speak and accuracy will follow. Trust your voice, nurture it, and let the world hear you. Not because you are perfect, but because you are real. This is your host, Sunita Rawat, signing off with full heart. And remember, mistakes don't make you weak, silence does. Speak, dear listener. Speak like the world needs to hear you. Because it does. Because I do.